Well, that game was finished West Ham United 2, Manchester United nil, and rightly so. Although that doesn't tell the full story of the game. That was, I was going to say, a game of two halves. Not really. It was a game of three thirds. That classic football saying, but it really, really was, because I guess the first 60 minutes really didn't match what we saw in the final. Well, I was going to say probably the final 30, something like that. Anyway, that was a tough game. I've got to say, for the majority of that game, it was a tough game to watch. Not at the very start. I thought West Ham started really brightly. I was really interested to see the battle with Mohamed Kudus and Luke Shaw down that right-hand side. I thought that was pretty interesting. There were times when we were able to get into the box. Bowen wasn't overly involved, it has to be said. But, we were making a few things happen. There's no doubt about that. But that sort of petered out very, very quickly. And then Manchester United gradually started to get into that game. And the more and more it went on, the more it started to look like we were just playing an overly defensive, unnecessarily defensive game, it has to be said. And I think certainly early on, we had Alphonse Areola to thank for a really smart stop, actually, from Garnacho, who had started to get through. I think got through on a couple of occasions down their left-hand side, down our right-hand side. And it was starting to become a little bit of a problem for us. However, they kept on attacking. But it wasn't relentless. I think the biggest difference between Man United and some of the other teams we played this season, because obviously West Ham got a very, very welcome clean sheet today, and deservedly so, by the way. I think one of the biggest differences is that this Man United team are terrible. I've got to say, they not awful. I'm not talking about relegation awful. They're really not. But that's one of the worst Manchester United teams I've ever seen. So rightly so. I was really pleased to see us go for it, and we did. Not throughout the game, but on 30. With 30 minutes left, we went for it, but because of a tactical shift, which we'll get to in just a minute. But there have been too many times when maybe we've played the badge rather than the team that was in front of us, and that was a very, very just a very average Manchester United team. They don't seem to have any superstars. They've got some decent enough players. Don't get me wrong. They got some handy players, but they're not brilliant. They're really not brilliant. And so we should have beaten them. We absolutely deserved to beat them at the end, because there came a point where we flicked the switch. And once we flicked the switch, we were so much better than them. Now, maybe we weren't able to do it at the start. Maybe David Moyes decided not to do it at the start. Let me tell you about this switch. Let's just get to that first of all. So for the beginning of the game, you had Mohamed Kudus on the right-hand side, as I mentioned. You had Jarrod Bowen through the middle. Now, I think by and large, Bowen was contained. Don't get me wrong. He had a little chance later on, sort of early in the second half, but that was a header from a James Ward-Prowse corner. It was a free kick, actually. Then he also had a bit of a snapshot. But by and large, considering Manchester United had a sort of rookie centre-half there who they'd sort of plucked from their youth team, I thought he'd had quite an easy debut, really. I think with the experience of Johnny Evans next to him, thought he'd marshalled the young centre-half really, really well through the game. But there came a point, and it's about the 70-minute mark. You'll have to look. You'll know, because we scored within 2 minutes of the switch happening. And the switch was to move Jarrod Bowen back onto that right-hand side. It allowed Mohamed Kudus to go more central. And what it also did was, it's James Ward-Prowse has sort of been pressing as the sort of highest of the central midfielders, if you like. He was still semi in that position, but he was also sort of covering the left as well, which allowed Lucas Paqueta to wander. And everything sort of opened up from that point. So we've been scoring a lot of these goals recently, which is Paqueta gets on the ball, he's in a central position, and then a runner comes in from the right-hand side. Might be Bowen, might be Kudus. In this occasion, it was Bowen. What a beautiful pass it was. But before we get to the pass, the tactical shift was right. I'd actually written down on my notes earlier on, when is David Moyes going to swap Kudus and Bowen over? Because the longer the game went on, the more Luke Shaw was getting a handle on Mohamed Kudus. And also they were doubling up on him. So even if Kudus would manage a bit of skill, there would be two guys on him. And if they needed to, they'd foul him. They basically just stopped him playing. And as I say, the young centre-back wasn't having too difficult a time with Bowen. So I thought absolutely they should be switching this.
So
I think it was the right tactical switch to do. And the ball from Paqueta, I asked earlier, were we going to get Paqueta or were we going to get Paqueta? We got Paqueta today. And he did like a sort of lofted, chipped pass over the defence with the outside of his left foot. I mean, that's got to be a skill. That's going to be pretty damn hard to execute. Jared Bowen beat the offside trap. Now it'll be said that there was an element of luck in the goal, and there was. But the pass was sublime, and Jared Bowen's first touch was exquisite. Not as good as the one he did against Brighton, but it was a really, really good first touch. He got the shot off, and Arna sort of got low down to make the save, but he did sort of made the save with the palm of his hand or the wrist or something. We were lucky in as much as it ricocheted back into the path of Jared Bowen, who tucked it away and got a tap in. But make no mistake about it, West Ham at this point had flicked the tactical switch and decided to go winning the game. And I've got to say, I'll give David Moyes a lot of stick following Liverpool, and I'm still not happy that we threw the game against Liverpool. I have to say that. But if the plan was to sit tight for 60 minutes and defend and then flick the switch and then change everything round and then score the goals, if that was the plan, then I guess it worked to it worked to a T, really, didn't it? Just a great goal. And then after that, we were just massively on the front foot. And it was just as well, really, because I took a look at that bench and I thought there is no one on that bench who I felt could come on and impact the game. When I say impact the game, don't mean defensively. I just mean from an attacking point of view. There was no one on that bench who I felt David Moyes could call upon to make us better as an attacking force. So he basically had to play musical chairs with his team, and the switch was good, because then we started to just sort of pour attacks on them. We were all over them. That we were pressing, our tails were up. You sort of felt that the team had encouragement because of the switching tactics, and we certainly felt that the stadium had felt an encouragement from it. It was just massive. As I say, it was just massively different from probably from about 65, 70 minutes onwards. West Ham were magnificent, absolutely were. The second goal, look, they made a little bit of mistake. One of the Man Utd players tried to put his foot on the ball. It slipped under it. But, I also got to say that they weren't making any mistakes up until the point where we started to put pressure on them. And I think what happened then, when we started to put pressure on these players, when we started to put pressure on the Man U ones, they started to become a little bit nervous. When they became nervous, Mohamed Kudus picked up the ball, really nice, gave it to Paqueta, and Paqueta was so quick. But it's pass and move. That's really what you want. And I wish we played like this all the time. I really do. But hey, it's just one of those things. As I say, when the tactics work like this, you cannot argue with them. They worked. They absolutely worked. 1-2. Paqueta plays the ball through. First time to Kudus. Takes it slightly wide, and the moment he's taken it wide at the angle that he ran at, which was basically towards our right side, you're thinking he has to hit this with his right foot. And he did. And I tell you what, they've been doing rather well at it, haven't they, recently? Our lefties have been hitting it very, very well with their right foot. Oh, I mean, magnificent. He finished low into the bottom corner. Very, very good. And to be fair, I think their goalkeeper's dodgy. I really do. I think it's... And I think one of the frustrations of watching the game, because that was a bore fest. As I say, for 65 minutes, that was an absolute bore fest. And I think I was getting a little bit frustrated, because I was thinking, why are we not... Number one, why are we inviting them upon us? Number two, why aren't we testing this rookie defender? And number three, why aren't we testing a goalkeeper who's a bit dodgy? Let's be fair. He's dodgy. He really is. Anyway, so we win the game, but that doesn't tell the full story of what happened, because I think just listening to that, you'd probably think of, there was a good tactical switch. It was Mohamed Kudus, obviously, Jared Bowen, Lucas Paqueta, but there was more to it than that. There really was, because this was a reshuffled makeshift defence, and I have to say, I was absolutely concerned about Kurt Zouma playing on the left-hand side of that defence. He was magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. I listened to him on the telly there when I was listening to it, and Ali McCoy gave the man of the match to Lucas Paqueta. And don't be wrong, you absolutely could. 2 assists, really, really good. But Kurt Zuma was like a brick wall. He really was. There was a nervousness to Mavropanos today. Definitely a nervousness to him. A couple of mistakes. To be fair, even Areola, look, he kept a clean sheet, but there was a nervousness to him. He spilt the ball at one point, and he went round to the past the goal, and no harm done. But it was a nervy moment. I think the one player in that middle part who did not look nervous at all was Kurt Zuma, and he was brilliant. I thought he was absolutely magnificent. I don't think they were the best team in the world. I really don't, Man United, but they definitely had attacks, and he just saw everything that seemed to fall against the brick wall. It doesn't mean that there weren't other people doing defensive good stuff. They were on top for a little while. As I say, I thought we were on top for the first 10 minutes, something like that, 5-10 minutes, not much more. Then they had this big 60-minute chunk in the game when Man U were the better team. But you know what? So be it. So you're going to have to defend sometimes against these teams. And actually, we did defend really, really well. As I say, in particular, Kurt Zuma. Alvarez did a really, really good job on that. A really good job. And then I think, look, I've got to say, the midfield didn't function particularly well for a lot of that game, particularly in terms of his passing and that sort of thing. But Thomas Souček, I don't know where he gets his energy levels from. I really don't. He looked absolutely finished in the game against Liverpool. He really did look completely dead on his feet. I don't know how you can do all that and do all of that running, and he's I don't know what the stats are, but I think he's had less of a rest than anybody else. You'd have to check the stats to bear that out. He was full of energy today, absolutely full of it. I mean, listen, he's got flaws in his game. He had deficiencies in his game. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to you that there was some immaculate passing game and his first touch was great. It really wasn't. But I tell you what, he threw himself in front of everything. Did a load of blocks. That was we call him on Hammers Chat Patron Thomas Souček 2.0. That was the that was the defensive version who basically had to sit and hold fort whilst Declan Rice went marauding up the pitch. But yeah, and anyway, look. It was overall, it was so exciting and so good to finish like that. Well, not overall. Overall, it wasn't exciting. Actually, it was 65 minutes boring and then exciting at the end. But you cannot complain with that. It was tactics. It was tactics well done. I'm as I say, I'm still a little bit aggrieved that we threw the cup in the way that we did. But Moyes can come out now. Moyes can stick two fingers up at everybody else and say, look, I did the right thing. I don't believe that to be the case, but he will come out and he will say that. Today was a good tactical switch. There's no doubt about it. You saw two managers there, and it was really interesting to watch Erik ten Hag on 55 minutes on 55 minutes. He put Marcus Rashford on, switch things around a little bit. I thought, oh, this is interesting. What's going to happen here? And I've got to say, I think Rashford's a bit of a busted flush at the moment, but you still get fearful when he comes on. And I thought, well, what's going to happen here? David Moyes has not flinched yet. And you say it's not flinched. You're looking at it suspecting that nothing's going to happen. But then you're looking at the bench, and the bench doesn't look great. Moyes' options don't look great. And then what David Moyes did, as I say, about 10, 12 minutes after that, no massive threat from Rashford. And then David Moyes does his tactical switch on there. So out of the two managers, they both had a go. And you've got this, supposed a wonderful tactical genius who's come over from Holland. I mean, Moyes did him today. There's absolutely no doubt about that. No doubt about it at all. I think most importantly, it puts us above Manchester United in the league. I think even more importantly than that, it allows us to sort of enjoy Christmas. It really does. It was a great manner in which to finish the game, to see Paqueta having these wonderful flourishes, to see Emerson marauding down the pitch, to see Bowen score, to see Kudus score. Moyes gave him both substitutions at the end. The 87th minute, 4-0 for Bowen. He gets a round of applause, rightly so. I don't know. 93rd minute, Johnson on for Kudus. I think that was the one. And rightly so. He gets a massive round of applause and a standing ovation as he comes off, because they've been absolutely brilliant. I'll tell you what, if you can keep clean sheets and you've got those guys, and I'll include Paqueta as well as those two in the team, you've always got a chance. You really do. You really do. I think the problem comes when you don't have those and you don't have the defensive shield. You don't have all your best players. You then can't keep a clean sheet, so you're not in a position where those guys can go and sort of win you the game. Win you the game at the end. which was, their tactics have not always worked. There's no new tactics today, to be fair. It's something we've done so many times this season, is try and keep it tight and try and win the game at the end. But so many times we go behind and it forces the issue. If David Moyes had a tactical sort of master plan, that would be it. That really would be it. Keep it tight for an hour, make a switch, go and win the game. Today it worked a treat. I'm absolutely delighted that it has as well. And I'd say particularly delighted today for Kurt Zouma, actually, because he was was brilliant, was absolutely brilliant. And it was the right thing to do. I was wondering whether to move. I was wondering whether to move Mavropanos. It's not up to me. I was wondering whether David Moyes would want to move Mavropanos or not. But looking how nervous he was, even in his usual position on the right-hand side. It wasn't terrible. He just was nervy at times. He did some good things in that Mavropanos. Nobody had a bad game for West Ham, by the way. Nobody had a bad game. It was just, 2 or 3 of the people were actually, by the end of the game, were brilliant. But it was the right thing to do, as I think if you'd have moved Mavropanos, it would have been the wrong thing to do. It was sort of Kurt Zouma had the mental strength to be able to play in a different position, guide his teammate throughout it. And I've got to say a big compliment, I think, to Edson Alvarez, who's always pointing, always talking. It's not his first language either, is it? I think really, really doing well. And I think that is important to note that we were missing a centre-back today, Nigel Gerd. Look, not everyone's favourite player, but something like that is going to disrupt the defence. And well done, I think, as well, to Areola, who, to be fair to him, someone took his place at Fabianski, got back-to-back clean sheets, and then Areola came back in for Europe and lets 5 goals in. It can't have been easy. I was actually pleased Moyes made that decision today, actually, because, if you're going to pledge, we don't know this, we can only assume that he's pledged to give Areola the gloves as a first, the first choice goalkeeper for the season. Was nice to see him sort of give that back. So yeah, I mean, look, it worked out, actually. It worked, and I was really pleased. Was it squeaky bum at times? Yeah, it was. But at the end of the day, that worked out, and it worked out an absolute treat. I haven't had a look at the league table. I did look at it before. No one else has played, so I guess we have moved up into 7th. We are definitely above Manchester United, and I think that's. I think it's brilliant. Honestly, I've given us so many bloody noses over the years. Gio's gone to the game today. He particularly doesn't like Manchester United, I know, so he'll be absolutely buzzing with that result. He really will. So yeah, look, well done, one and all. As for the rest of you, look, I'll see you on over on Patreon. I'll see you on the forum channel. In terms of the a match review or a preview, if this is all the stuff you tune into on Hammers Chat, then I wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. And I think we can certainly look forward to enjoying a lot more of a better Christmas now, with 3 points in the bag, riding high, looking really strong in the league. If we can follow it up with another good result in our next game, then I think we're looking very healthy indeed. But what this allows us to do now is look at the rest of the results that unfold over the weekend from a relaxed position. Keep our eye on Tottenham, keep our eye on Newcastle, keep our eye on some of these other teams. But we're looking in pretty good nick in the league. Anyway, Merry Christmas, one and all.